Good morning. In less than an hour, aircraft from here will join others from around the world, and we will be launching the largest aerial battle in the history of mankind. Mankind. That word should have new meaning for all of us today. We can't be consumed by our petty differences anymore. We will be united in our common interest. Perhaps it's fate that today is the 4th of July, and you will once again be fighting for our freedom. Not from tyranny, oppression, or persecution, but from annihilation. We are fighting for our right to live, to exist. And should we win the day, the 4th of July will no longer be known as an American holiday, but as the day the world declared in one voice, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day!
You are listening to Loud on the Set with Kyle and James.
A level-headed movie critic meets a loudmouth movie cynic.
And action! All right, welcome back to the show. My name is Kyle.
This is James.
And today, James, what are we doing?
Independence Day.
I could have been at a barbecue.
Yeah! Andrea's here. Hi, Andrea.
Hello.
Yeah. Happy 4th of July, everybody. We're going back. We started this year with a great experience. Terrible.
We began
Terrible
year 2 of Loud on the Set. Episode 53 was Independence Day Resurgence. Kyle and I went to the theater. We recorded live. We did some field work. We walked out, if you remember, 1 year ago, Kyle.
1 year ago. And today is our 101st episode, marking this July 4th holiday week. And if you're surprised to hear James's voice and my voice, and that we're back in the studio, it probably means you missed the joke. Maybe you only listened to half the podcast. I don't know what the case is, but anyway, it's 101. We're here. No signs of stopping or slowing down. So with that, let's jump right into it. Andrea, thank you for joining us today for what will be our Independence Day.
I hope they bring back Elvis.
Oh, it's another line for the movie.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. Okay.
All right.
So Independence Day Resurgence was garbage.
Yep.
And should never have been made. But Independence Day 1 was a huge blockbuster success and has, I guess, stood the test of time in that people still talk about it as one of their favorite action, blockbuster, Hollywood, exploda, alien-orama films. So what do you all think about it? I think it's pretty fun. Myself.
I love that movie as a kid. I still quote it to this day.
I think it would have scared me as a kid. I don't know if I saw it as a kid. I probably saw it as a teenager.
Wow. 1996.
Yeah, 96. I was 10 years old.
You were 10?
I was 10 in 96.
Kyle, how old are you?
5.
What? Oh, that's right. I forget how young you are.
Oh my God, I was 18.
Independence Day.
I remember when I saw it, I loved it as well. I wasn't the movie cynic back then. I lacked that truly critical eye. I didn't have the cynical outlook to the world that I have now. 18 years old, still, like fresh out of high school. Recently graduated from high school. I thought the movie was awesome.
Yeah.
I remember the movie house walls were shaking with every explosion that went off. It was fucking crazy.
Yeah. I remember Dad putting on our sound system in the house, like all the surround sound for the movie. It'd be like,
I remember when the dog leapt to safety in that tunnel in L.A. Remember the dog?
Best part.
And the crowd went fucking nuts.
The flames go by.
Never mind that millions of people just got incinerated. Like,
yeah.
I hope this one dog
I
lives.
hope this dog's okay. Oh, good.
Oh, good. It jumped in and then the door's shut. Should be all right,
It's funny that most people have that kind of gut reaction when they see movies, and then yet most people seem like they don't give a shit about animals or, the environment or anything.
No.
It's kind of interesting. But a movie dog. It's different. Man's best friend.
You know the dog's story,
Right.
It's Air Bud.
Air Bud.
Also came out around that time.
And Air Bud 2, where he played baseball.
How the fuck could
Was
he
it
play
Golden
baseball?
Retriever? I thought it was a terrier.
Whatever.
Okay, Independence Day. Obviously, no shortage of spectacle in this film. I think it was one of the first big, huge budget, blockbuster, blow 'em up kind of things. And there are not many iconic scenes in action movies quite like when the White House just gets vaporized by a giant alien spacecraft. The fantasy, right?
Oh my gosh. What's so great about it is that the DVD, or no, it wasn't DVDs then, the VHS you got of that movie when it came out,
Here we go.
it
Ready?
had one of those boxes where if you move it, what is it called?
We should have talked about that on our DVD extras.
What is it called when you like...
Yeah, one of those kind of like hologram-esque
Yes.
things,
Yeah.
like where you tilt it and you can see the different...
And it goes from the White House to the White House exploding, to the White House to the White House
That was
exploding.
the original VHS extra there. Box art.
Interactive.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
here's
it's fun.
something. Here's all that action sequence is totally iconic. In fact, they totally fucked it up in Independence Day Resurgence. They couldn't even like replicate the success of the here's where everything goes bad, right? Remember that? Remember how underwhelming that was in the new one?
Yeah, they kind of jumped the shark when they, could have just nuked the moon right at the start of Independence Day Resurgence.
But what's funny to me is that the alien ships go over the major cities at the beginning. They target like 15 major cities, like Moscow, New York City, Washington, D.C., yada, yada.
5.
Was it just 5?
I think it was 5.
Oh, snap. Why did I think it was 15?
I don't know. I just read a quote that said
Probably
5
because of
pieces.
Arrival and them doing like a very similar
Oh,
thing.
that was...
Oh, well, the funny thing is,
The statistics brain over here.
we understand the symbolism of destroying the White House, but how does that make any sense from a military standpoint for the aliens?
I don't even
You know,
know
like
they
they-
know that much.
There's not like a strategic.
It's
not geographical.
psychological warfare. Blow up the White House?
I
That's true.
guess.
Oh, the aliens must know that.
What the hell? They blowing
Demoralize them.
blowing up the Hoover Dam would have been 1,000 times worse.
Well,
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't
Or
think
they
about
could have
that.
just,
Well,
not come down to Earth and from a distance blown it the fuck up.
That's true.
Why are we analyzing this part of
Can I
it?
quote Kyle? This here's my idea for the aliens. Blow up the moon. Why not? That's Kyle right there.
Why not? Blow up the
Alright.
Earth. Why not?
Actually, I have strategy behind that.
Okay.
Huh?
So the aliens are there to
Show of
pull-
force, enslavement. Sorry, I'm jumping the shark
Can
myself.
I speak?
Yeah, go ahead. I got excited.
They're here for natural resources. They're like
Ah,
locusts.
yes.
You might remember that scene from the movie.
Uh-huh.
So it wouldn't be wise of them to blow up the Hoover Dam because they need to extract all of our water.
Good point.
But like, screw the White House.
Deep
That
war.
is psychological warfare.
Yeah.
Scare everybody so then they can just easily take our resources.
They should have went after the fucking Mall of America in Minnesota. I would like to see that thing blown up.
I think that they're smart enough to know that processed foods are complete garbage.
Hot Cheetos. Aren't they after our hot Cheetos?
Ah, that's great. Yeah, so what you were saying, there wasn't I don't want to discuss the sequel much in this, but there was no tension, but this built tension so well with those ships
Yes,
showing up and everything. And then they replicated that in Arrival so well, when you just the unknown of everything kind of at the beginning, before all hell broke loose. But that kind of unknown that was sitting there was so unsettling and interesting.
Kyle, that's a really good point, actually, because the arrival of the ships in Independence Day takes its time and it unravels in that way where it builds the tension. They hover over the cities for a while and there's mixed reactions to that.
Uh-huh.
In the new one, they arrive and they blow everything up, and next thing you know, it's sitting on top of the whole planet, and then it's got its own gravity. Next thing you know, they're fighting back. And it was so
It has
garbage.
its own gravity.
It had some
I know.
gravity.
I don't want to talk about this.
All right, let's stick to the original. Yeah, we gotta
I
stick to the
haven't seen the second one. I don't want to see it. I think I
doesn't
saw like
exist.
20 minutes of it. And
Don't
I
pretend
couldn't
like it
watch
doesn't
anymore.
exist.
But let's focus on the first
I
one.
look back on this fondly, and it was
How old were you when you originally...
I think like a
finally saw it?
teenager,
Okay.
and it was a quality action film. I mean, at the time, I'm sure if I had analyzed and things, there's probably a lot of your classic pitfalls with action movies and plot holes and things like that. But it had spectacle and it had a punch that wasn't present in other films. I think at the time, I think they took that risk for what it was about.
Well, what is it about? Would one of you guys like to...
Yes, James.
Oh,
What's
man.
the film about?
An alien mothership has arrived to Earth and divides itself about 15 times into smaller disc-shaped craft that descend upon the Earth and use a super weapon to obliterate the major American cities. But their long-term plan is, in fact, the co-opting of all our natural resources first they have to eliminate the humans living on the planet so they can take all of our natural resources. In the meantime, scrappy humans fight back because a long time ago a smaller scout ship had been lost on planet Earth to Area 51, and that will ultimately be their undoing. How'd I do?
It's all right.
For once I didn't stammer through it. It's got President Lone Star in it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
President
Bill
Lone Star.
Pullman.
Good Lord. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So when this came out, did you see it in the theaters?
Of course, I already
Yes.
said that.
And what was kind of the feel of what was the census of the audience and everything when it came out? What did people say about it?
Oh, they loved it. If you remember, like we said earlier, when the dog gets rescued and the door shuts from that tunnel, the dog is inside, the light bulb blows out, and everything goes dark, and then a caption appears on the screen, July 3rd, on the black. It's white text on a black screen. And the next shot, as you fade in, is a picture of the Statue of Liberty's head floating in New York Harbor. The Twin Towers are charred versions of themselves, look like two burnt-out cigarettes standing on the horizon. And the whole theater was like dead silent. Like, oh my, it felt like we just got attacked, you know? It was intense. And then every time they fought back and every time Will Smith's like, welcome to Earth, and punching the aliens and whatnot, yeah, everybody went crazy and laughed and cheered. It was great. It was a festive thing.
So remind me of a plot point.
And it did come out during Independence Day.
Oh, good.
I guess, yeah.
That weekend. Yeah.
That's good. Was there an initial response to the aliens coming down where people were like, maybe they're just here to like make contact or anything? Did they prep for that? Or did it seem hostile from the get-go and then just
I think they
get
had
rolling?
shown the White House blowing up in trailers.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, but I mean in movie world. In movie
no, they were
reality
all
world.
excited.
Okay.
They were like, oh, they're on top of buildings,
Yeah.
like having signs like "Take me with you" and all that stuff.
Yeah, it was a rooftop party in L.A. If you remember, the United States military's first attempt at communicating was to fly a helicopter right along next to the ship and then try to flash communication signals on big light boards. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And the aliens just shoot that out of the sky. They're fucking around.
SWAT.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's when everything goes, oh, they're hostile. When they're not interested in, like, reciprocating the communication a la Arrival, they just blow one of our Apaches out of the sky. Then the White House kicks into action. Jeff Goldblum discovers the countdown signal and all that. So builds well. The tension builds well.
It does, and I like that there's more sections of the film where it builds up. And one of my favorite parts, and probably a lot of people's favorite parts, is when Will Smith brings the alien back. He captured one of them out of the ships, and he's dragging it back in his parachute, and he takes it to that facility, and the scientists are working on it, and then, of course,
It wakes up.
and all hell breaks loose, and it kind of, like, takes that guy over and, like, smashes him up against the window and everything, and it's, like, communicating through him.
Mm-hmm.
That was so powerfully interesting, and it showed not just that they had, war machines and destructive capability, but they were so much more advanced and more menacing on that level as well. And I loved that. And it just continued to build the tension through there, and then how would they ever stand a chance after that point, even if they were learning about them and trying to advance, yeah.
That actor was Data from Star Trek, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I felt like he hit it a little bit more home. Like,
Yeah.
oh gosh,
Mhm.
this is a slap in the face right now.
Yeah, totally. That was one of my favorite parts. What was your favorite part?
I don't know if I have a favorite part. I really loved the destruction scenes. That was, by the way, that was done with practical effects too.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't CGI. When you see walls of flame pouring their way through city streets and whatnot, and like cars smell. Oh, it was all done with miniatures and whatnot. I remember seeing some extra shit on that. Hey,
Look at that.
Yeah. But I really liked when I was a kid. Well, I wasn't a kid when I was 18, but I guess amused by this, being a simpleton, whatever. The fact that they were able to tie the whole mythology, if you will, of Area 51 into the movie. I thought that was clever. Like,
that was clever.
when the president was like, we've never had any contact with these fuckers ever before, or whatever he says, right? And his aide is like, that's not entirely true, sir. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And like, we got to take you to this little spot. You may have heard of it. Area 51, you haven't even heard about it. Like, well, he's heard about it, but not, like,
That'll make sense.
it's like, okay, finally the U.S. government has to, like, sort of come clean, Yeah. So they do, and they go to Area 51 as a clever, like, tie-in to some real-life I hate this term, but whatever, conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Like they were able to sort of use that, like bring it in and move the plot along quite nicely.
Yeah, and it's probably the perfect venue for utilizing that type of content too, because that's fun for people to jibe about and think of it just passively. For people that don't really believe in that, I will say, they probably think that it's way more of a big deal. And then to include it in a big Hollywood, blockbuster thing, and to build plot around that is inherently interesting and makes it and gives it a new life that they can talk about it, and it's not, as controversially uncomfortable as speaking to people about a different reality that believe things like that. Andrea, what was your favorite part?
I really love all of the subplots.
What were some of your favorites?
Oh, of course, Will Smith. Will Smith is amazing in that film. I loved his subplot that he's an Air Force pilot who originally wanted to be an astronaut, but they keep rejecting him. He just wants to go to space, and he has his baby mama, Vivica A. Fox, to have a kid together. He wants to get married to her, but he doesn't know. Oh my gosh! And then we got Jeff Goldblum, who is divorced from a woman who's an aide to the president. And for some reason, I think there was also some love triangle between the president, Jeff Goldblum's wife, and Jeff Goldblum, and that's why there's that kind of tension there. I just love that story because he's kind of hitting rock bottom, but then he gets this whole alien thing, and then all of a sudden it's he's a hero, and I just love the nerd hero. He's just great. And then of course there's the third subplot of that no offense, white trash family. That the dad, they live in a trailer, and the dad's I was abducted by aliens. I know these people or these creatures.
Yet another fun conspiracy theory thing.
Yeah, and then he goes into Fly, and everyone thinks he's a piece of shit because he's an alcoholic. And
give him a plane.
Give him a plane. And then he saves the day, and his kids are like, wow, maybe he was such a bad guy in the last 18 years of my life I've been complete shit in a trailer with an alcoholic father, I guess. Yeah. And then at the end, when they all drive out in the desert on the Jeep, and the women run to them, they're oh, and they're smoking their cigars. Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith make a really good pair, I thought. They're a good duo at the end.
That was a good buddy situation because they're so very different from each other, and just in I don't want to say in appearance, I'm not referencing race, but in that he does have the nerd look, and he has the Air Force, fighter pilot. These guys wouldn't be friends, out in real life unless they were put into this circumstance together. And then they find their commonalities and things that they enjoy together and go through that experience, and then are super bonded. And that's really fun to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember this one scene in particular. The James movie Cynic did exist for a brief moment of time back in the day, in 1996, when I saw this movie. If you remember when the United States is launching their attack, and they start communicating via Morse code with the rest of the planet about how they're going to upload the virus, and they're going to, go for the weak spot, whatever. They go around the world. They start doing, visiting the other places around the world, and they're getting the Morse code. And, looks like da-da-da-da. And I think it's the British or the Australians or the French. When they get the Morse code message, if you remember this, it goes something like, the Americans are planning a counterattack. Well, it's about time. Well, what the fuck were you idiots doing this whole time? Why, what a weak point in the script. Why does it have to be the Americans have to start the counterattack in order for you to get off your asses? What are you just going to, what if we didn't come up with a counterattack? You're just going to sit there and with your thumb up your ass the whole time?
Well, that just speaks to how Hollywood always likes to portray America.
Exactly.
As
That's what I'm getting
super
at.
country.
And that
it's
is
about
something,
time. Fuck you.
That is
Stand up yourself.
that is something that I really wanted to talk about as
Oh,
well.
good.
So the I guess metaphor of this film and Independence Day and what it means to patriotism, because a lot of people look at this right now and think that this is a very patriotic film, about blowing the aliens away and stuff, and then it came out on Independence Day weekend and everything. So what's the subtext here? What's beneath the veil on this? Because I looked at it very, very similarly to that. I thought that it was a very, Yosemite Sam, shooting your guns up in the air a kind of propaganda situation.
It was a bit of propaganda for sure.
Yeah. So what do you guys think?
James.
I'm sure this has been said by many a historian over the years. I'm going to mangle the quote, but I'll put my own little spin on it. Nothing unites a civilization like a common enemy, right?
Mm-hmm.
You always have to be afraid of somebody else. You always have to be fighting against somebody else. You know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. You know, so you see this playing out all the time in real life. You know, the next thing is the Syrians, then it's the Russians, then it's the this, then it's the that, and you always have to keep the people like afraid. Like, oh, it's such garbage. I just spun away into a tangent so bad there, but it speaks to the bigger thing. Like what this is also in movies like Watchmen. Like, how can I unite the world for world peace? Something off of the world has to attack the whole world for the world to be united. You know, it can't be on like common ground, or it can't be on common interest or kindness or empathy. It always has to be because something is threatening us. And so world unity and world peace always has to be achieved through violence. And
but do they have world unity, or in what you were just describing in that situation, does the rest of the world just look and it's like, oh, thank God America's our savior, and they have like, you know, their thumb on everybody else all the time?
Well, in that movie, yeah, that's true. But
and then the development of that movie, and then bringing it out on Independence Day and pandering it to our young 18-year-old audiences that are watching it and enjoying the planes blow up. Is this an ultimate piece of brainwashing, or am I just watching a conspiracy theory here happen myself? What's the implication?
It works like a motherfucker. They still do it to this day in
What do you think, Andrea?
Yeah.
No, I think it's brainwashing at the highest entertainment level.
At the highest entertainment level.
Yeah.
On my way here, when I drove I drove through the neighborhood surrounding this area. One of the playgrounds in a playground up the street has a fucking fighter jet that kids can play around. Have you seen that?
Yep.
Oh my God.
It's on 19th and Yoloa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How the hell can we live in the San Francisco Bay Area and nobody's gone in there with a graffiti can, a spray can, and been like, "Death machine, not fun." You know, like, what do you?
I don't think it was a fighter jet. I think it's supposed to be a spaceship.
No, it's a fighter jet.
Shuttle.
It's got fuselages and everything, and it's parallel to the ground. It ain't pointed up to space.
Oh.
Unbelievable.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. So there you go.
Independence Day!
Hey, we did say, Kyle, when I had to call into the studio the other day, right?
The gloves are off.
The gloves are off. Loud on the Set is not going to be all about just movies from now on. We tell stories, we tell jokes, we're getting deep. So fuck all this propaganda. Right? God damn it.
So what's your least favorite part of the movie?
Andrea, you go. I just flap for a lot.
Do I have a least favorite part of the movie? I don't think I've thought about it that hard.
I haven't either. It's just fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got my least favorite part. You ready for this?
Do it.
There's one scene in particular, and this is so nitpicky. It's the nitpickiest. When the White House is being blown up, if you remember, the president and his helicopter get away, but there's a helicopter that doesn't get away. Do you remember this?
There's always a helicopter that doesn't
Holy
get
cow.
away.
Anyway, the White House gets blown up in the background. It's kind of in the background.
Yeah.
In the foreground of the shot is a helicopter that, because of the impact of the blast, has been turned kind of sideways.
That's right.
So that the propellers are facing you. It looks so fucking fake.
Yeah.
Do you remember this?
Yeah, I do.
I remember this very well because in the previews on the TV before this movie came out, that helicopter wasn't there. So somebody added it in later, and it looks so fake. It looks so fucking fake.
It's
you know what I'm talking about?
pixelated.
That's
It gets its own sound effect too, because the White House like boom has its explosion, its sound effect, and then the helicopter's like way forward. It's as if they like were planning on making it 3D to have like have 3D movies are obviously like, oh, obviously this scene is totally shoehorned in for a 3D element, right?
That has.
And then they're like, we don't have enough money left over, and they just left that one helicopter in. You know what I'm talking about?
That has a residual stamp of some studio executive who was like, but other movies are using CGI, so we got to have at least something in there with CGI so that we can keep up with that stuff. And everybody else is like, no.
Some producer,
it looks fine how it is.
Yeah, some producer's nephew was an intern,
right?
Fucking around with like my first CGI
Adobe After Effects. It's like, I
remember that very, very, very clearly. Actually,
maybe the scene I didn't like, but okay, this is a little pulling, but okay. When they've uploaded, they're in the mothership, they've uploaded the virus, and there's this kind of this scene where the aliens realize like a what the virus goes onto their screen. It's like a skull, and I think they literally go make a sound that kind of sounds like like,
Yes,
and
yes.
and then like their little port thing blows up, and then they like.
That's just so 90s, though, too.
So 90s.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I mean, I look back and I'm kind of appalled.
It's
but
nearly
at the time,
like the fourth wall break kind of stuff that they would do. Oh my God, with outrage, they'd have like one character, like everything would be, trying to keep an even tone, and then there's just like the outrageous character or whatever, like the outrageous situation that has to be involved.
Doink.
That's so 90s. That's hilarious. So one of the things I think that this movie does really well is the iconography of of everything, really, with the idea of like aliens and the giant motherships and the White House, the imagery, the types of things that the president, they bring everything into the highest level of kind of identification and iconography, and I think that speaks to some more underlying metaphors about things. The fact that they're uploading a virus onto the mothership, like you're talking about. There's definitely some more analysis that could be done on looking at the idea of like the supermen and what that kind of means to the rest of the world, because we look at it through a very Earth-centric view, like what we're doing, but that very realistically, could be the next step of our war machines, and we could be the aliens going to other planets and things and assessing threats and taking that on, and we could be those people, and susceptible to the same types of things. So there's a lot of kind of hidden things that are underneath all the explosions and conversations about it.
So you're saying that Independence Day is way more deep than we think it is?
I think that you can evaluate it at a deeper level using those sorts of kind of larger, what are those called? Allegorical kind of icons and everything. That's why I liked that they, that they took some risks with it in terms of, it probably wasn't, unless you knew things were going to be okay, maybe a fantastic marketing campaign to just blow the White House up on screen, and things like that. It does take some risks in terms of how extreme it was for the time and the type of like massive destruction movie it was, and like putting people on their toes in that manner and everything.
Well,
it's interesting.
From a movie making and a cultural standpoint, we got it out of the way. Like with the advancement in special effects, a movie like this was bound to happen where everything just gets flattened in a very realistic looking way. And now we know that that's not enough for any movie. They have like White House Down, and what was the other one? There was like Olympus Has Fallen. It's not enough anymore to just take an icon, blow it to hell, and expect the box office to just roll in. So thank God we got this out of the way. In fact, Emmerich and Dean Devlin, the duo that cranked this out, they're like a joke unto themselves now. They've copycatted themselves to death at this point, right? The Day After Tomorrow, 2012, right?
Is that all
20,000 BC. I can name so many of these shit movies they've made. Yeah? Where they think that just having a trailer with that sequence.
And I think that's, again, what makes this special, is it's all playing back into that one idea. And I think they did it really well and utilized, like you said, some very culturally specific types of icons and plot pieces surrounding as it goes through the whole thing. And now it's just derivations of that idea over and over and over again with no innovation. But then we get something like Arrival that shows up, which has a similar structure in that there could be devastation or unease, or that there are superpowers beyond, what we know of. And it plays out in such a unique way that with everything, that it's so much more interesting inherently than just the fear of the destruction. Disaster movies now, I mean, we did it right off the cuff at the beginning of the podcast because it is such a joke now that, there's going to be a disaster movie every summer and they're going to cash in because it's an inherent fear that people have of the world and their society or their culture, being wiped out. And they kind of did something interesting here, and they rallied it and made it around like the American experience with Hollywood and everything. But it's just utilizing that inherent fear of that complete annihilation.
Excellent.
Actually, now I have a lot of respect for Independence Day. It's such a foundational film of like
blowing shit up,
blowing things up that are near and dear to most people in
Mhm.
our cultural realm.
I got one last nitpick I wanted to mention.
Sure.
It's on my notes here. Borderline least favorite moment. I mentioned the helicopter and how phony it looked and whatnot, but also when Randy Quaid's character, the drunk, right,
Mhm.
the drunk crop duster, whatever the hell he was.
Yeah.
It takes him forever to get up into that weapon. Remember, he's like, he's gonna commit suicide. He's gonna fly his way up into the mega weapon and destroy it from within. But holy cow! That scene took forever to unfurl, didn't it? It cut back to him like 10 times in the cockpit, like, "Here I come," and then back to the ground. People watching it. Up your nose with a rubber hose. He said so many stupid cliches, and it just took forever. No.
Mhm.
I mean,
I was like, would somebody just shoot his ass out of the
that
sky,
was
please?
the drama, It was his character.
It should have been bang bang.
I'm back. Oh my god.
Oh, he said that too. Yeah.
Hey boys, I'm back. And then he goes, up yours.
Oh, he said up yours. I said up your nose with a rubber hose. Barbarino.
Speaking of that,
Just took too long. It should have been.
That's true. But when I was a kid, I remember counting, because one of the lines that the president says, because he's also in one of the fighter airplanes shooting the aliens,
Of course.
is he's like,
That's our fantasy.
right, everyone's running out of missiles to shoot these aliens. And I remember counting when I was, because I watched it so many times when we had VHS, counting how many missiles are on the plane and how many everyone uses. And I'm just like, there should be more missiles out there. They're really unless they're just shooting anything and everything. And so when the president says, does anyone out there have any more missiles? And he's like, sorry, Mr. President, I'm back here now. And
I'm all out of missiles.
And then he totally misfires and what? And then the shields. How did they even break down the shields? I don't even remember how they did that.
The virus.
No, but did they? Oh.
Yeah, the virus.
They had to go up into space first to do that, and then they brought down the. Okay.
It's like the Battle of Endor.
Yeah.
Same fucking thing. Anyway.
Same thing. All right, final thoughts on Independence Day, then we'll grade it.
Oh gosh, great Will Smith quotes. It's great. It's a great movie. Entertaining about. You should watch it this holiday weekend.
If you haven't seen it, watch it now.
It's a classic, foundational.
I'll give it a B.
A B?
I'm sure if I watched it again, I would nitpick the hell out of it. It's interesting that they got away with all those subplots. Something they couldn't pull off 20 years later at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
The subplot, you don't get distracted by the subplots. It actually kind of moved the story along nicely. It's paced. This movie's paced pretty well, too.
Yeah.
I'll give it that. It's paced well.
For what did we see the runtime was? 2 hours, 30 minutes?
Yeah.
That's pretty long for the attention span of 90s audiences, too.
That's true.
We only kind of broke the mold when Lord of the Rings, the first Lord of the Rings was 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And that was the first time. I remember that being in newspapers. It's people are willing to sit through, this crazy long movie and stuff.
That's because until Independence Day, all you had was fucking Dances with Wolves, which is just feels like 5 hours and it's probably only 2.5.
Yeah, good point. What would you grade it, Andrea?
Yeah, I'd give it a B.
A B?
Yeah.
C plus.
Wow.
Yeah, because the more I think about it,
You think it's not that much better than Wonder Woman, a movie you haven't even seen?
True.
Well, that gave away something for the podcast of Time Machine right there.
To come in the future. No, so as we're reflecting on it, one of the things I'm thinking about is just the idea of, the fantasy American, somebody sat there at some point and was like, what would America do? If aliens came, what would we do? Our president would get in a plane and would blow those fuckers out of the sky.
But that's so different than 10 or 15 years later, or previous, you had Close Encounters of the Third Kind with Steven Spielberg.
Right.
And that was all about love and, first paranoia, but then welcoming, and they take us away, and it was positive. And E.T., also positive. And then you have this. So who is this person you are referencing who has come up with Independence Day?
This is a...
How has the world changed to change it from peaceful 80s alien to scary 90s alien?
I think you just described it. I think it's an identifiable kind of gear change where Hollywood realized that they could make a shit ton of money if they just started playing off of people's fears and start playing the pandering card, giving them what, their like fantasy environment of whatever will make them the most money and please the most people possible. And I'm sure that was a lot of consideration. And action movie, I mean, that you can put out an action movie that is 900,000 times more successful than a film like Moonlight that comes out in the theater is the exact answer to that question, where what is more important and what should be more accessible to people and that more people should value is that, and inherently it's not. So I feel terrible about that. That being said, it is a fun and visually appealing movie to watch with some good one-liners and fun acting chemistry. So thus is my grade based on my feelings of the world. There it is.
There you go.
Well, with that, we're out of time. Independence Day.
Yeah.
Interesting. I would love to know what people's first experience watching Independence Day was like. What did you feel? How do you feel about it now if you reflect on it? Send us some mail, loudontheset@gmail.com. You know who we are. Loud on the Set with Kyle and James, and today, Andrea. Thank you for being here. Andrea, you can check us out on YouTube and iTunes, anywhere you find podcasts. We are there. If you haven't seen Independence Day, I think we can all confer. I say watch it.
You should totally watch
Yeah.
it, especially now.
Yeah, watch it.
Definitely watch it, evaluate it critically, and have a wonderful time.
See you later.
Bye.
And cut.